What's up guys, Matt here from Loon Outdoors, and today spring is in the air, birds, big bugs, everything's going on. You guys are all thinking trout, but today is the second part of our series about bass. So today we're talking about one of the most prolific species available to every angler, bass. So we kind of talked about the float and fly last time, the bass being lethargic and tired and moving slow. Great news is they still have big mouths, they eat things, and now the water's warm, so they're gonna be hungry and chase stuff around. So golf course ponds, not that I know anything about that. Drainage ditches, random ponds in your neighborhood that look decorative, they probably have bass in it. Every reservoir near your urban environment, pretty much if there's water and it's like 2 feet deep, there's probably a bass somewhere living in there. So first and foremost for me, bass begins where trout end. And the reason I say it that way is most of the time for me, now this might be more so largemouth fishing, there's probably some fish that are smaller that'd be great fun on a 5-weight. But if you have the chance of catching a 3 to 4 pound bass, my recommendation is I like to start at an 8. The 8's kind of like my jump off point for bass. As a side note, it's also like the 5-weight of the saltwater world, so it's a very versatile stick to have in your quiver if you don't already have one. I like to have a size 7/8 large arbor reel. The 2 lines that I put on here traditionally are going to be a floater, something with a really aggressive front taper for turning over cool flies, or a sink line for working subsurface with other cool flies. And the reason I like an 8-weight, it's got good backbone, it's going to control fish. Possibly you're in some weird urban environment scenario where you have to keep the fish out of a shopping cart, or a more natural setting where you need to keep that fish out of a big brush pile or a tree that's fallen into the lake. So again, 8-weight reel that'll hold your line. Really you can start by getting away with 2 lines, a floater and a full sink. That's going to get you started, and then you can go further down the rabbit hole from there. For most of my basic bass adventures, I kind of, in my brain, I use this as the rule of 8s. So I run a 7.5 to 8 foot leader, and I start at a 3X, which typically is rated at about, let's see, 8.6 pounds. So again, it's falling into that 8 category. You can go up to 2X, 1X, 0X. Sky's the limit here. If you get into stuff like this size, you're going to be throwing 20 pound, just straight 20 pound to turn over this and to manage what you're going to, be catching. So that's a good jumping off point. I just go with a standard mono leader, not super worried about it, super versatile. You can go fluorocarbon if you want, or you can go mono on your tippet. Bass are great. They're hyper aggressive. They like to eat things, and they have big mouths. I'm going to say it again. They're fun fish. So from there, we're going to talk a little bit about flies. The great thing about bass is if you think that dry fly eat on a midge hatch in winter was fun, wait until you have a bass blow up on one of these little frog poppers, like on a scum line or a tule line on a local pond. I mean, it's like somebody flushed a toilet and this thing's gone. And that fish is going to do a ton of jumps, run around, be super aggressive. It's just a blast. As we move into like what I would consider more of my sinking line world, stuff like that, bass eat a wide variety of things. They eat things that swim, things that jump, and things that crawl along the bottom. So, getting really cool, intricate crawdad patterns and working them across, points and situations when you're seeing crawdads out and about, super fun. You better believe those bass are going to be eating them. If you see them making crawdads live in little tubes, when you see them making little tubes, throwing a crawdad pattern is epic. The fish just go bananas for them. And when you get into the bigger world, this isn't going to be thrown on an 8-weight. This is something 10, 11, 12 weights and up. But sometimes you're going to get into reservoirs where the bass are schooling on big shad. I mean, literally they're gorging themselves on 7-inch fish. And if you can find that type of activity and get in on that, I mean, it rivals anything else out there, and it's typically closer to home than you would expect. So last but not least, obviously, is some of like the terminal stuff that you want to carry with you. As you've looked at like the fly selection here, I mean, we have massive hooks. So bringing along a solid set of pliers is epic. It's going to be huge for you. You can get in there. They have bony mouths. You're going to have to pop the hook out. It's far less delicate than trout fishing that we're used to. A floatant is always good. You know, flies that right on the surface always do need to go into a floatant. Whether you choose a dry shake or a liquid type floatant, choice is completely up to you and your preference. Both are going to get the job done. Both are going to be really, really good for, you know, maintaining this fly's surface activity. One of the last things is I fish a lot in the evenings. That's when I tend to get my 10 minutes of free time that I seem to get a week. So I love carrying a headlamp. It helps me when I inevitably hook the tree behind me when I'm excited. Retime my knots, apply a new fly to the end of my line, stuff like that. So carrying a headlamp. Also, it's great for walking out so you don't trip over something and break your fly rod, stuff like that. So this is kind of the basic kit. You can kind of get away with a rod, you know, whatever price point you feel comfortable, small selection of really fun flies, tippet leader, and, you know, just a few other smaller accessories to get you out there and exploring the world of bass a little bit more. Anyways, guys, this is Matt with Loon Outdoors. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. GoPro, stop recording.